All right, let's talk about something that's absolutely critical in today's world, protecting our digital stuff. We're going to unpack the ISO 27000 family of standards. Sounds a bit technical, right? Don't worry. We're going to break down how this system helps companies everywhere keep their most valuable assets safe and sound. So think about it. In this digital age, there's one huge question every single organization has to face, whether you're a tiny startup or a massive corporation. And that question is, what's our most valuable asset, really? And once we know that, how on earth do we protect it? And the answer? It's probably not what first pops into your head. It's not the fancy office building. It's not the expensive equipment. Nope, it's your information. And I'm not just talking about files sitting on a server. It's everything. We're talking digital databases, sure, but also old school printed documents, and even the know-how that's just rattling around inside your employees' brains. And that information, it is under constant attack. I mean, look at this. The ISO standard lays it out pretty starkly. Threats are coming from every direction imaginable. We're talking about high-tech stuff like computer-assisted fraud and espionage, but also things you might not even think about, like good old-fashioned sabotage, vandalism, even disasters like fires and floods. The bottom line, the risk is very real, and it never, ever sleeps. So what do? Well, you can't just buy some fancy new software, click install, and call it a day. That's just not going to cut it. To fight off this crazy range of threats, you need something much bigger. You need a structured, well-thought-out approach. The answer isn't some magic bullet tool, it's a system. And that, right there, brings us to the hero of our story today. It's called an Information Security Management System, or for short, an ISMS. This is the playbook, the framework that smart organizations use to get a handle on all this and really protect their information. Okay, ISMS. I know, another acronym. It sounds a little intimidating, doesn't it? But trust me, it's actually pretty straightforward once you just split it in half and look at the two parts. All right, first half, information security. So what does that actually mean? The official ISO definition says it's all about the preservation of confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. Those three words, confidentiality, integrity, availability, they're like the three legs of the stool. They're the absolute pillars of InfoSec. But let's make that even simpler. Confidentiality is just about keeping secrets. Integrity means making sure the information is correct and hasn't been messed with. And availability, that just means the right people can get to it when they actually need it. So think of it this way. Secret, accurate, and accessible. That's the whole game right there. Okay, on to the second part. Management system. What's that? Well, think of it like the blueprint for a house. It's the set of rules and processes, the structure, who does what, the plans, that a company uses to set its goals and then actually make them happen. It's all about having a solid, repeatable process instead of just winging it. So let's put those two pieces back together. An ISMS is simply a systematic way to manage all that sensitive company info to make sure it stays safe. It's basically a framework that helps you make smart, consistent decisions to protect your data day in and day out. Okay, so now we know what an ISMS is. But the big question is, how does it actually work in the real world? Because this isn't some dusty manual that sits on a shelf. It's a living, breathing, continuous process. And here's the absolute key to the whole thing. The entire system is built on one word: risk. You don't just start throwing security measures at the wall to see what sticks. No way. As this quote makes super clear, everything, and I mean everything, starts with a deep understanding of the specific risks your information is up against. And that risk-based approach follows this really logical four-step loop. Step 1, you assess your risks. You ask, what are all the things that could possibly go wrong? Step 2, you treat those risks. You decide, okay, what are we going to do about these things? Step 3, you implement controls. These are the actual safeguards you put in place. And finally, and this is so important, Step 4, you monitor, maintain, and improve. It never stops. It's a continuous loop, always getting better. So when we say treat a risk, what does that mean? Well, you've basically got 4 choices on the menu. First, you can try to reduce the risk, by putting a control in place, like encrypting your data. Or you can just accept it. If the risk is pretty small, you might just decide, you know what, we can live with this. Third, you can avoid the risk altogether by just not doing the thing that's causing it. And finally, you can share the risk, like by taking out a cybersecurity insurance policy. And I really have to hammer this home. This is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. An ISMS isn't a project with a finish line. The bad guys are always getting smarter. Technology is always changing. Your business is always evolving. So this idea of continual improvement is everything. The system has to be a living thing, always adapting, always getting stronger. Okay, so this all sounds great, but where do you get the instruction manual for building a system like this? Well, that's where the ISO 27000 family of standards comes into play. You can think of it as the official, internationally agreed upon playbook for doing this right. The specific document we've been pulling from, ISO 27000 itself, is really your starting point. It's like the glossary or the README first file for the whole collection. It gives you all the vocabulary and explains the big ideas. Now, within that big family, there are two real superstars you need to know about. You've got ISO 27001, which is all about the requirements. This is the checklist. It tells you exactly what you have to do to get certified. Then you've got its partner, ISO 27002, which is the guidance. This one gives you all the best practice advice on how to actually do all the things on that checklist. So it's super simple. One tells you what, the other tells you how. And trust me, it is a big family. It goes way beyond just those two. There are dozens of other standards in the series. Some give general guidelines, some have specific rules for auditors, and some even dive into particular industries like healthcare or cloud computing. It really is an incredibly deep and comprehensive toolkit. So, we've talked about the what and the how, but let's wrap this up by getting back to the most important question of all. Why? Why go through all this effort? What's the actual payoff at the end of the day? Well, it all comes back to where we started. It's about protecting that single most critical asset, your information. An ISMS is, hands down, the best way to systematically make sure that your information stays confidential, maintains its integrity, and is available when you need it. But the benefits don't stop there, not even close. Having a strong ISMS builds a ton of trust with your customers and your partners. It helps you tick all the boxes for legal and regulatory stuff. It makes sure you're not just wasting money on security gadgets that don't work. And it even gives everyone a common language to talk about security, from the tech team all the way up to the boardroom. And this final quote, man, it just nails it. Protecting your information isn't some niche IT problem that only the techies need to worry about. No, it's absolutely essential to hitting your business goals, staying on the right side of the law, and protecting the one thing that can be so hard to get back, your reputation. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to chew on. Take a hard look at your own organization's security. What do you see? Is it just a patchwork quilt of different tools and random policies that were created on the fly? Or do you see a single coherent system that's built on risk and designed to protect what matters most? Because believe me, the answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.